Hey everyone, I'm back. I kind of like inadvertently took a break from the internet. I pulled a muscle and couldn't do cards for about 3 weeks. And then I also like had a cough. It was like a kind of a bad run. And then it made me sad. And then just current state of things in the world kind of made me sad too. But I'm back. Um, and in honor of my birthday or just life in general, my birthday's coming up on September 5th. I'm a Virgo. It is what it is. Guess my age, I guess. I don't know. Don't. You don't have to. It's really not that big of a deal. But hi. I did want to talk to you guys about tarot reading today. I feel like a lot of people have opinions on it. When I like first was starting out, and this was like a long time ago, when I was a teenager. And like when I say a long time ago, like I was a teenager a significant amount of time ago. But I wanted to give you guys some tips on tarot reading. I'm trying to stay in my lane on this one, so I'm not going to be out here. I don't believe in gatekeeping. I also kind of like the tips that I have for you is kind of like for everyone who could be interested in it. So you don't necessarily like, for me, for example, like my spiritual beliefs, stuff like that, I tend to keep them private. A lot of the times when you see me, if you ever seen the monthly readings, if I'm ever preparing for something, there's different stuff that I do that's off camera because I feel like that particular journey is for everyone. Now, at the same time, while some people, have their feelings or thoughts about certain stuff, like tarot reading is a skill. It's a skill. It's a skill that many different types of people who have different types of faiths and beliefs and all of that practice. So, because of that, I feel like and then even like divination just in general and stuff like that, like there's so much diversity just among like people that do what they do. So I'm not going to be kind of like pushing anything like that onto anyone in terms of spirituality, even though I do think that you should have a spiritual foundation if you're going to be doing something that is like accessing information and energy from like beings, energies, or spirits that are just outside of you, like so. With that being said, no gatekeeping. I'm not into doing that. So if that's kind of like your thing, I'm sorry. That's first tip. But yes, if you are new to tarot reading, if you are a beginner, if you're just curious to kind of see like what kind of feedback or info, not feedback, I don't know you. How can I give you feedback if like I have not seen you? But suggestions for people. I do have like a couple decks that I want to suggest for people, as well as a textbook, and I'll kind of explain how it can help you out in the beginning. And and monthly readings are coming. The September readings are coming. So if you are interested in that, definitely subscribe, like the video, leave a comment if you have a question. I'm mostly kind of getting into the technical aspect of tarot card reading and divination in regards to that. This is just like tips that will help you on getting started. It's basically, I'm gonna put you on to how to educate yourself on tarot reading and just like some tips to keep you encouraged. So yeah, do all that. Connect with me on the internet. Stay tuned for the September readings, and then we are just gonna get started, and let's hope that the editing for this video is all right. Okay, so one of the first things that I want to stress to anyone who is like picking up a new hobby or a skill is that in order to be considered good at something, or to even feel, in my opinion, comfortable at doing something, you're going to need to be open to devoting a certain amount of like time and effort into getting good at it. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be anything that seems simple. If you want to be like the best at even the simplest thing, you're going to have to commit to wanting to do that. When it comes to something like, at least in my opinion with tarot reading, it's mostly about being the best like interpreter that I can be for myself, so I can like understand different messages and things like that. But even then, like, I'm gonna keep it a buck. You have to learn a system of cards and how they work. Cards have meanings. They do. I know that there are, everyone has their own style, but at the end of the day, cards have meanings. Those meanings play into how it is that you are interpreting them. I know it can be intimidating if you like kind of see this big system of cards and you're like, oh shit, how am I going to get started with like, learning them? But you need to learn the basics in order to get good at it, which means that like, do you have to beat yourself over the head in terms of memorization and stuff like that? No, but you can make a conscious everyday effort to kind of like add on to the knowledge that you're building so that it's not intimidating if that's your thing. But understand that, like, it's not really a thing to be perfect at in terms of like learning the cards and stuff like that. You're just going to be integrating kind of like just especially in the beginning, card meanings, how you feel about them, finding a deck, learning more information, all that stuff. Like, that takes time. So definitely get into it. If you see videos or people trying to explain they can teach you how to do it rather quickly, like in an unrealistic amount of time, especially if you're trying to do more than just pull a card and get a meaning. If you want to like kind of like develop a practice and stuff like that, you have to understand that it is going to be some work. Shit, it's work. Like, I've been, I would say off and on, like over like 15ish years. That's how long I've been kind of into it. Yeah, so that is the one thing. The other tip I would have is you want to get a journal and you want to get some books. It does not matter what kind of journal you have or what kind of journal you get for tarot reading. It could be a 50-cent like spiral notebook. Who cares? Because you're going to be learning these different card meanings, and it's something that, like, again, it's a whole skill set that you're developing. You want to keep notes, that way you can kind of like write down ideas, questions, or things you want to look up later. Even if it's only writing down in there every couple of minutes or something like that. It's always a good idea to keep a journal. Just because it'll also track your progress, and like, at least for me, like when I see like how much something has grown or changed, I get a little inspired by myself from my work, or it encourages me. It also kind of like, you can keep track of discoveries and when things dawn on you. There are times where, like, especially when I'm pulling for myself, like something will dawn on me like hella weeks later. Like, I'll remember a spread that I did and be like, so that's what that meant. And so I don't want you to like think that you have to keep everything you learn about tarot reading, whether it be the card meanings or anything else like that. Historical stuff, if you're really into that, those things, like in relation to like the process or anything like that, like keep a notebook, write that stuff down, give yourself the space to kind of learn the things in a way that you like and in a way that's going to be helpful for you. If you like to draw pictures of things or diagrams, do that. Like, it's really a unique sort of process. So if that is like something that you're really passionate about or passionate about learning about, make sure to take the time to create a journal for your knowledge. That way you don't have to constantly worry about memorizing everything. Okay, so let us get into, I guess, some suggestions. I do want to suggest some books and a couple of decks for noobs. So if you don't really know which deck to grab, or if you've been kind of curious about a few, I'm going to pull out some that I would suggest for anyone who's kind of curious and you want like a deck that maybe looks cool but also is very much like pretty close to the interpretation of the initial or like standard tarot decks, in my opinion, or at least for me. And I own like a lot of decks between Oracle and also, the ones that I'm showing you here. I don't have a ton, but I have more than the average person who probably collects. So let's get into some suggestions. The OG, the Rider deck. I know some people are like, it's boring, I don't like it lacks diversity. Yeah, I understand. But if I understand the criticisms of it. I think just starting out, though, it's very good kind of like as a study tool. Even if you don't plan on pulling with them all the time, it's a good study tool to have, something good to learn. Especially when you're kind of referencing different books and stuff and they have pictures of different cards depending on what deck they're using. It is kind of helpful for you to kind of like when you're first getting started. If you want something different, go for it, but this isn't necessarily a lose. It also gets you really accustomed to kind of the imagery that gets used frequently. Yes. The other one I like is Crow Tarot, if you like animals. If you kind of want to, because this is pretty close to kind of visually what's represented in this one. So it is worth checking out. I do like the book as well. I love the artwork. I think the book is really cool too. Let me see. Let's take it out real quick. There's also like an urban one too, where it's like city crows, and I'm like into it. So it's cool. But yeah, book's kind of nice. pretty lengthy explanations and stuff like that. So just starting out, this is a good deck. It is pretty big, so if you have smaller hands or if you have issue with kind of like shuffling, may not be the deck for you in regards to size, but it is a good one starting out in terms of imagery. I think it's pretty cool. Another one I absolutely love, I think it is in a great price point as well, Modern Witch. It's cute. You know, if you're kind of like, I mean, I'm gonna just keep it a buck with you. If you are not feeling like seeing, you know, gender binaries and stuff, gonna check this one out. I love this deck. I think it's wonderful. I love the color usage. There's, of course, it's not like shot for shot. Everything's redrawn from the original Rider deck, and it doesn't have to be. But this is a good one if you're starting out or if you're getting more comfortable with reading, or if you want a good first deck. The only criticism that I have in this deck, I practice a lot with tarot reading, so cards are a little thick, but look, color, pretty, images, dope, diverse. I love to see it. I'm all about how, you know, all the different images are represented in here. It's a win. If you were on the fence and you know, like I said, if you want to see, you know, just something different from the normal, on point, something that's not super straight, go for this one, because, like, you know, sometimes you just want to see beautiful images that you can resonate with, and they're cool. It's really cute. So this one's a good one. Not super expensive as well. Another one that I absolutely love, Spellcaster's Tarot. I love this. I love the deck because I think it's beautiful. I've seen some criticism about, like, kind of like the style or whatever of the cards, because I believe that wands and swords are kind of switched in terms of element. I don't really see an issue with it. The great thing about cards is that they're a tool, so you can kind of, like, you know, use them as needed or kind of adjust, like, your mindset if that's what you'd like to do. What is amazing too is that it has a really good book. The book, see, I just have it ready, like, boom. It's super helpful. I do like, I love descriptions of the cards. How you can use it for divination is really helpful. And there's also, like, even with reversals, and then, like, the magical uses for the cards and stuff. So there's also, like, a magical kind of, like, you know, sort of aspect of it. So if that's something you're into, check that out for sure. I personally am just kind of like general with it, in terms of, like, how I practice my spirituality. But if that is a curiosity of yours, you can check that one out. I think this one is great, kind of like in terms of, like, a wonderful deck and a wonderful reference in terms of the book. It's a really good book if you're getting started on reading, and if you kind of need, like, kind of a starter reference as well, it's not a bad choice. I really love this book. The deck, I've owned it, and, like, the box is pretty solid. I've owned it for going on years now, or I got it, like, I don't want to say years, but definitely over a year, less than two. Another one that I absolutely love is Tarot of the Divine. Card meetings, or I guess the visuals, sorry, I'm, like, super loud. The visuals, you know, they aren't, again, exactly like the Rider Tarot deck. Tons of different cultures are represented, different types of bodies are represented. There are same-sex couples in here, which I absolutely love. Great deck. That was the other thing that I absolutely loved about Spellcasters too. Like, you know, there's a lot of variety there, so you're not just seeing, like, standard, like, heteronormative couples. And, like, at least for me, I try to, like, suggest different decks that reflect different things or show people stuff. Great price point. Art's beautiful. The book is pretty good. It's pretty, I don't want to say it's, like, basic. It's just, like, when you're buying a deck, it's always wonderful if there's a detailed book that's included. It's always great, and I feel like it's helpful, but at the same time, that's not what everyone is, like, bringing to the table when they're making tarot decks, and that's not a bad thing. It's not, like, a negative criticism. There's also other books out there, and you should be open to, like, reading different types of resources to kind of expand what you're learning about the craft anyway. Okay, so don't think I'm, like, hating if, you know, like, because some decks don't even come with a book. So yeah, right. So these are just suggestions for beginners if you're starting out. If you want something that's easily available, again, you got a couple in here who are just like, you got the basics. These are all decks that I use as well on a regular basis. But yeah, these are all wonderful decks that are great for beginners, or if you just kind of want something that's not too pricey to check out with getting started. And it won't be too, it won't take too long for you to get used to interpreting the cards or any of those decks. So, one book that I absolutely suggest to everyone starting out. It looks crazy because, like, well, number one, it's a thick ass book. Number two, I have post-its and notes. This is not something you read all the way through because it's a damn textbook. But Holistic Tarot. Now, before we even go there, this is the only book I'm going to suggest because it is a very good kind of like reference. There are other books that you can check out. And depending on how you're integrating the tarot reading practice into your life or into your spiritual practice, there are tons of different suggestions that you can have. Right. But hear me out. This book has really great charts, like keyword charts, just descriptions of cards, really wonderful, well thought out chapters on morals and ethics in regards to tarot reading, how to even form questions. And there's even a section in there about like when you're going to start reading with other clients. Like, it's a very comprehensive approach. It's not like as spiritually based. So if you're just kind of into a more like a really good reference, check this one out. You got keywords, spreads, even how to interpret stuff, and kind of like how to, and again, everyone has a different style. So, and I think it's impressive when people try to learn about other styles, whether you're going to ever do it or not, but just to learn about it or to learn from or to see how other people do things is helpful. But this is and it's a little expensive, I'm not going to lie. It's like $30. So it is an investment. I think, it's not like $12, but it is comprehensive. It will, again, I've had this book for a while. I had this book for a couple years, and I continuously go back and reference it. And I've been reading for a while. It's just really cool. It's a great starting point. We're kind of like seeing other things that like you can be like, oh wow, I'm really interested in this aspect of tarot reading. Like, let me do more research. But it's a great kind of book to have to reference, especially just for the actual like mechanics of it, skills and stuff like that. Yeah, and then card meanings, and there's just like more in-depth explanations and stuff. So I think it's helpful. It does look a little intimidating. There's also sections on kind of like how numerology and other stuff kind of factor into it. But again, it's just a suggestion for if you're starting out, or hell, if you've been practicing for a while. And yeah, if you have any other book suggestions or stuff like that, if you just saw like, you're like, hey girl, like, maybe you liked it, maybe you didn't like it, but let me know, because put me on. I have other resources too, but this is the only one I'm going to be suggesting in this video. Also too, don't be afraid to leave post-its and make notes in your book. That's the whole point in like actually having a notebook, is that when you're checking out other resources and stuff like that you can kind of synthesize the information that you're getting. And it makes you and again, it's with anything, makes you better at what you do when you take the time to record your findings. I feel like I talked really fast. I was just very excited about that. Clearly, I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to this sort of thing. Anyway, another aspect that I don't necessarily think everyone talks about is that like the energetic or spiritual aspect of tarot reading. So I always suggest to people that before you're kind of going into divination, that you should really look into like where you're at spiritually. If you practice a religion, sure, whatever, but just in general, like, you should learn about like clearing your energy, grounding yourself. If you are kind of like, you want to make sure that you're in a stable place, like spiritually and also mentally and emotionally, and just because, and you also need to be comfortable with your ability to make a decision. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. But for real, I'm not playing when you are doing things like tarot reading, though, because I want to get back to the point, because I almost strayed away from that, but I'm going back to the point, right? You want to make sure that you are figuring out ways to protect your energy, how to clear energy from your tools. So it's like your decks, your space and stuff like that. It's more than just wearing crystals. When you're reading for other people, like, you aren't always privy to like what their energy is like and stuff like that. And so you need to be doing that. You need to make sure that you're learning about things like meditation, clearing your energy, and do regular maintenance in the form of like, maybe some people do spiritual baths, some people do other stuff. So it's like, it depends. Definitely look into different options, even when it comes to like, when you're smoke cleansing a space, like do things based on, your lineage and what's going to work for you. And like do the actual research. So you can't just be out here trying to, hit up the ether or like, bigger energies for information on like things or questions that you want answered, but you don't want to take the time out to kind of like do any type of internal work on top of like clearing out the space and just, having an altar and stuff like that. So look into those things, explore those aspects of your spirituality if you're going to be doing something like this on a regular basis. Again, it's a skill, it's a practice, and tarot reading is a skill that's supposed to build into your spiritual practice and your ability to discern things. Okay, it's not. And I also want to say, divination is not a substitute for being able to, again, make a decision, and like being able to stick to the decisions that you make. It's supposed to help, but it's not. You need to be able to do that. It's also not a substitute for like legal stuff or medical advice or things like that. So you need to be comfortable with kind of knowing where the limitations are in regards to divination. Another thing, you want to have an opening and closing ritual. When you start off a reading, you're basically, again, you want to create a space, stuff like that. You can look up opening and closing rituals for tarot readings. Again, like, people do it differently. That's what I'm saying. Do some research, but you do want to look into that along with energetic cleansing and clearing. So I hope that does help. Oh, and another thing, which I kind of mentioned before, and I guess this is maybe like the last suggestion or tip, is just to really take the time to develop your skills before you start reading for other people. Because along with actually being able to interpret the cards, which that's only one aspect of tarot reading, and this is like if you're like really like trying to do regularly for the homies and other people and stuff like that, aside from the energetic aspects of it, there are some conversations that not everyone is prepared to have with other people. Things can come out during tarot readings. Like, this is, again, outside of just like the spiritual aspect. Some people have weird ass attachments to them. You don't find out till later. Some shit we not supposed to know. There's just a lot of different aspects or like things that you have to look out for the other person that you're reading for as well. So if they're not in a good frame of mind or emotional state or something like that, like, you don't want to trigger them or hurt them by doing something that you want them to do, which may be giving them a reading. And so I'm just saying, hold off on it. That's it. I'm not saying don't do it. If it's something fun where you guys are like practicing your skills and wanting to develop them more, then sure. There's always like some really fun like 3 to 5 card spreads or stuff like that where you can ask these general questions that are helpful, or when you're asking questions that you kind of already know the answer to. So I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying do it after you've developed enough experience and when you know how to say no, really. Or when you know how to develop boundaries and kind of be like, hey, that's not appropriate, like, to be asking, like, that kind of stuff. Because you really want to, at least in my opinion, I'm all holding pieces all night. At least in my opinion, I believe that if you're going to be doing something like divination for other people, you need to be of the mind of helping them and not hurting them. And hurting people looks different in different ways. So, I try to err on the side of better judgment. So, again, that's not for everyone. I feel like this is kind of like all the suggestions I had. It's pretty long. If you have any questions about the items that I mentioned in there, in the video, I will put the info in the description box just so like you have links to it and stuff. And just seeing what the items are. Thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking around. I am working on the September readings. So if you are into, I don't know, astrology-based tarot readings and monthly readings, definitely subscribe and all that. I'm going to be making more videos more frequently now that I'm over being injured and randomly sick and not feeling well. And yeah, if you want to support the channel, because you know it's a pandulce out here in, money sight, check out the links below. Also, at somewhere on the screen at some point, maybe right now, I'll have like my Cash App and other links on there. Ooh. Yeah, I don't know. My nose is really itchy. I'm sitting in front of the air conditioner. I don't know what to tell you. But yes, no gatekeeping when it comes to our reading. Really, I hope that you're out here checking out different spiritual stuff and that it's helping to benefit your life. I'm glad you found my video. Nice to meet you if you've never been here before. And yeah, stick around. I'd love to give people more tips that I feel are helpful. Hopefully this is helpful. I know you're like, all you did was suggest blah, blah, blah. Look, it was because people be out here really making stuff up, telling you can do and see things with your cards that you can't, and they don't even explain to you the other aspects of developing yourself spiritually. Yeah. But, we not worried about other people. Anyway, good luck on your journey. It was nice to meet you. Thanks for sticking around. Leave a comment if you have a question. Feel free to subscribe and all that jazz, and good luck on your journey. If you have any questions, let me know, and look forward to the other content. Later.